You know what one of my favorite things about RedRiverHorror.com is? The monthly preview. Well, today we have a special guest on episode number 97 of the Red River Horror Podcast, so please sit back, relax, and travel those channels of fear. Welcome back. This is episode number 97 of the Red River Horror Podcast. I am your host, Joe Zakreski, joined by RedRiverHorror.com founder, Eddie Cayazzo. Hey, Ed, how are you?
Joe, I'm doing fantastic.
Yeah?
As always.
Good.
Every day you see me,
Yeah?
it's the best day of my life.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, every day's a gift.
Every day's a gift.
Sure is. And we have a special guest with us, the man, the myth, the legend, who's doing our monthly upcoming previews on RedRiverHorror.com, Stephen Beason. Stephen, how are you today? Welcome to the show.
I'm doing great. I'm glad to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
We're thrilled to have you, man. You've been doing wonderful work ever since you took over this spot on the website. It's my favorite feature of the site. Always gives me something to look forward to. So great to have you.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I think I've been doing this since, probably February, I think. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, been on board for a while now. Happy to be a part.
Fantastic. And just before we get into things, I could tell you both something. You know how sometimes you want to not listen to the critics or the audience and just want to see something for yourself? Well, I made a terrible mistake. And I went on to Hulu. I think it was Hulu. And I watched Jeepers Creepers Reborn. Have either of you watched that one?
I have not seen that one, no.
Don't.
Yeah.
That's the only one I haven't seen.
Don't.
I wasn't a fan of 3. I liked 1 and 2.
3 was exactly what I expected it to be.
Yeah.
2 was surprisingly enjoyable.
It was. I thought so too.
And I love the first one.
Yes.
And this one, was supposed to be reborn, so it was kind of like a rebootish. Yeah, basically a reboot.
Okay.
And it does a nice, similar opening, but set in the past.
Oh, boy.
And everything's, going well, and then it goes to the future, and that's just really, really bad from there on out. None of the characters are redeeming. The writing's, the delivery of lines, It was a cringe fest, so I'm just getting the word out there to avoid that one at all costs. And then I was like, maybe I'm wrong, and I go on to Reddit, so the horror subreddit.
Funny enough, the original Jeepers Creepers was one of those that just kind of slipped under my radar, and I haven't seen it yet. And now I think with all the controversy and the way the franchise has gone, I'm not exactly in a rush to go catch up on it.
Yeah.
Well, you're always safe watching the first one.
Yeah,
that's true.
You're always safe watching the first one of any property, and the reason that gets the sequels because the first one's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I get that. And I mean, maybe I'll pick it up at a pawn shop or a library or something. So
yeah.
I'm not, supporting that guy. But yeah. Justin Long, what a king in the genre, though. I don't know if you guys saw Barbarian.
Yeah.
Fantastic. One of the last things he did, Drag Me to Hell. Just a massive fan of the guy and what he's done for the genre lately.
The way he's able to go in and out to different genres and just be good at pretty much almost everything he does, though I don't know if I've really seen him in anything too dramatic. I know he's done.
No, I mean I've seen him in a few comedies and I've seen him in some horror stuff.
Yeah.
But he's always reliable. He is really phenomenal.
And he even put the two together for Kevin Smith's Tusk.
Yeah, or Drag Me to Hell.
Yeah, I guess you could call that a comedy too.
There's some comedic stuff in there. I mean, come on. By the time you get to the goat scene,
yeah, that's fair. I can't argue with that. That's funny. But
I actually never finished Tusk, and it's not on purpose. I tried my best to get through it, but when Tusk became available on Netflix or whatever, I had started my new job with the waking up early thing. So it's I'd get to the end of the day and be like, all right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to watch it. Here we go. And then I'd fall asleep. And then I'd get back the next day. All right, I'm going to do it. Here we go. And then I'd fall asleep. So I will eventually get around to watching Tusk. I wasn't
huge on Tusk, but the film Kevin Smith did just before that, and I think it's a part of some like unofficial trilogy. But Red State, I really liked Red State.
Yeah, so Red State's outside of the True North trilogy.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, so like he did that one. Yeah, loved Red State. And then
it's phenomenal, and I wish we had gotten the ending that he wanted to do. Have you guys heard about that?
Oh, no.
So the original ending, I mean, spoilers if you haven't seen it, but the ending was supposed to be that, like, the apocalypse was really happening and that these angels were going to come down and, like, slice the heads off of the false prophets, and it was going to be like this huge Armageddon set piece. And the studio was like, this one scene is going to cost more than any of the last movies you've ever done. Combined, this is like,
wow.
This is more than Chasing Amy, Mallrats, like, this is millions of dollars, and they couldn't do it.
That would have been sweet. That's like
it would have been awesome. Yeah, no, it would.
I have to keep an eye out because he's been just like, you know, his post heart attack being like very active with events and fans. So it's like over like the Smod Theater, Smodcat, like, oh, that's about like an hour and a half drive from here.
Oh, wow.
So not too bad. And they've been doing a lot of events over at that theater where he occasionally is there, or someone in the movie is there to watch it and hang out and talk about it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I know he's coming to Shreveport, Louisiana. I saw, which is probably just about 3 hours from where I'm at. He's traveling, doing the whole convention circuit and stuff.
And so, well, that I'm glad you brought that up. Actually, so Red River Horror, based in Philadelphia. Where do you hail from, Stephen Beason?
So currently I'm in Hot Springs, Arkansas, probably just an hour away from the state capital here in Little Rock. So I'm a little bit far from your neck of the woods, but no, I mean,
How far from the fabled Texarkana?
Oh gosh, probably about 2 hours. The town that dreaded sundown.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm about, probably an hour or two away from Folk. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Folk monster, but the Legend of Boggy Creek, all that. Yeah,
I think
there's definitely some horror stuff here.
Yeah, I was saving all those questions, but you're going to have to tell us some stories if you want to take a minute to think about
Absolutely,
the lore behind them. Up here, we're about an hour from the Pine Barrens, so Jersey Devil right across the river. Who else do we have up here?
I mean, we have Eastern State Penitentiary.
Eastern State Penitentiary. Yeah, we got the haunted.
Oh wow, okay.
A lot of the haunted stuff. I was like just
Pennhurst Asylum.
Yeah,
they've turned it since into a haunted attraction, but that was that big expose. I think what was it in the '60s?
A lot of horrible things happened there.
Yes.
So I think there's probably, you go 2.5 hours maybe from where I'm at. There's the Crescent Hotel, which is one of the most haunted hotels in the nation, apparently, and they've had it on the Travel Channel and stuff like that. It's bizarre. I've never been there, but I have had friends who have worked there, and they've always said like there's something about it that just, they've always been like, I don't really believe in this stuff, but there's something there.
Always, right?
Yeah,
I don't believe it, but it's like that's a big but. Yeah.
Sometimes you can feel a little something.
I think so. I like to, because the whole point, when you're younger, and especially when we were younger, I mean, Ghost Hunters was big.
Yeah.
Like it was a big deal.
Yeah.
You don't. So when I approached it years ago, I never thought of wanting to disprove what was happening. I always wanted to find something. So I was always a lot more optimistic going into something like a ghost hunt or a faux ghost hunt or whatever it is, just trying to set up a camera and audio recording or whatever. So you're more looking for stuff. When you do actually find stuff, it's just like, wow. But then that whole side of it where it's just like, no, the whole idea is to disprove. Like okay, is that a water heater turning on? Is that toilet flushing in the outside.
Yeah.
Is your house not as well insulated as you thought, and you heard something outside? Like, that's
Right.
But it's very interesting. I still believe that there is paranormal activity does exist. I think there's enough documented to prove that. We don't have to watch Zach Bagans yelling at stuff on Ghost Adventures and say, "Oh, that's proof right there." But you can. I think you can absolutely experience.
Well, I think there's just some places that you have that just like negative energy, and maybe that's it. It's just you walk in and you feel something's off, like some bad stuff has gone down here.
There's a presence. That's one of my favorite things of going to like a notable haunted place in America is that instead of we always say negative energy, and there it's a positive energy. Even though that the Stanley Hotel in Estes Park, Colorado, even though that's where Stephen King stayed, and that's what inspired 1408, inspired The Shining. Dumb and Dumber was also filmed there, and there's like rumors Jim Carrey was there for half a night and left.
Wow.
To another hotel. They got all sorts of stories.
What does it take to freak out Jim Carrey?
So I think he paid for 1408, which is the haunted room.
Yeah.
Which is booked for years and years. Apparently there's like a maid there, and she will like put away your things or like rearrange your things.
Huh.
And that kind of freaks people out. But you see a lot of like the characters from The Shining in the picture were real people from pictures in stuff there, but they're all it's all like happy gatherings. There's no so
here's the Golden Age Club from 1970.
Yeah, so that's one that I always really enjoyed. But yeah, there's definitely an energy, there's a feel that you get. I always got it going into General Lafayette Inn, which is an old inn near here that's when it opened, was 1700s or is it 1800s?
I think 1700, because I think General Lafayette was actually
that's where they put the name there. Yeah, so kind of like a midpoint between Valley Forge and Philadelphia. This inn, named after Marquis de Lafayette, used to be called the Baron Hill Inn. That whole area, Baron Hill Road's right there. But yeah, it was on Ghost Hunters too, I think, or one of the ghost hunting shows. But you definitely catch a vibe.
I think so too. It has less notoriety, Stephen. Like, I don't know if you'd be able to find it, but the General Lafayette Inn, it really does. You're not the first person I've heard, and you're not someone. Again, I think we've talked about this in a previous episode. You're not someone to accept something like paranormal activity without. With like, it's not like something like a door shuts or something. You're like, oh, that's the wind or something.
Yeah.
Like you'd be more so into disproving something than actually saying, no, I think I feel something here.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm probably more skeptical as well, but I will say there are those times where it's like it's kind of hard to explain. This is just stuff.
Yeah, maybe there's something in the air.
Yeah, man.
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
So that's always good stuff. Where were we? It's like,
well, I mean, I think introducing the audience to Stephen Beason.
Yes.
We actually got a good amount of movies coming out.
Yes.
All throughout the month of June. I'm very excited about. I think you're on one now, The Blackening.
Well, I'm just kind of scrolling through because I'm just like, there are some good ones.
Mm-hmm. So by this point, we'll release this episode very, very soon.
Mm-hmm. So we're into June. So let's go take a look at the June preview. Stephen, have you seen any of these movies yet? Or
so I haven't yet. I'm very excited though for God is a Bullet. That's the new one from Nick Cassavetes with Jamie Foxx and I'm not even going to attempt to butcher his name, but
Jamie
Lannister from Game of Thrones. You know who I'm talking about.
I think it's Nicholas Quaz. I butchered it.
Yeah,
too.
see, I wasn't even going to do it.
Jamie Lannister.
Is this the one that Jamie Foxx was filming when he got sick?
Maybe, but
I believe so.
Wow.
I believe so.
Here's the other names. You have January Jones in there, who's fantastic if you know her from Mad Men and a bunch of, she's been in a few other things. And it hit the last name there where I'm just like, no effing way. Because he's one of my favorite follows on Instagram. he just goes up to people and just be like, Rita, you don't remember me? Like Andrew Dice Clay.
Oh.
Okay.
Sounds like a musician.
Andrew Dice Clay was a very famous comedian in the 80s and early 90s. You know, hey, Joey Bag of Donuts over here.
Joey Bag of Donuts.
You know, he sold out Madison Square Garden. He was a big thing.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. And he's kind of fallen off recently. I know that I want to say they tried to give him a little bit of a comeback with It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I think he had like a bit on that.
He had his own show on Showtime too.
Yeah.
Which was a biopic type where it was like, trying to be, he played himself.
Yeah.
So trying to be like Louis, I guess is the only way I could describe it.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Doing like odd comedy gigs that he still does, but 100% worth a follow on Instagram because it's just silly.
Well, and Stephen, how do you consume? What's your preference on consuming films? Do you like the theater experience? Or are you digging this new kind of at home?
I mean, I think it depends. I mean, I usually prefer the theater experience. I think the problem that I've noticed is, I went to this is not a horror film per se, but I went to go see Spider-Verse, the new Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's also playing at probably 15 different theaters within 5 miles. You can't help but, throw a rock and find somewhere that's playing it. And so a lot of the independent films, whether they're horror or not, they get relegated to streaming. Mm-hmm. And so, as good as Spider-Verse is, and again, it's a phenomenal film. I really enjoyed it. It's just films like it are dominating the theaters. There's not room for anything else. I watched Paul Schrader's new film. He did, First Reformed and Card Counter, and this is his newest one, Master Gardener. And it was really, really good. I couldn't find a theater within a tri-state area that was showing it.
Wow. Interesting.
I had to watch it on streaming, and of course I did the Amazon Prime VOD. And it's I think the issue is I wish there was more option, right? Yeah. I would prefer to see a lot of these in theaters. It's just sometimes that's not available.
Right. Yeah. No, it's true. So I don't know how it is in like the, with Hot Springs and Little Rock, that whole area. Like, is there, is there an indie theater scene down there at all?
Not really. I mean, you get to some of the, bigger cities. I mean, there's, but I mean, hell, I saw someone on Facebook the other day that was in kind of a metropolitan area, and they were talking about their, local Alamo Draft House, and it's all like, Guardians of the Galaxy and Spider-Verse
right.
stuff. And it's like the Alamo Draft House. It's like, so it seems, I mean, it's especially affecting areas like where I'm at, where, there's smaller towns. But I mean, I think it's an all over thing, too.
Yeah, I'm definitely very spoiled up here with some of our offerings because we have, One Brand Ritz with their locations where they play independent releases. They're like smaller films. Like, when you see a trailer, it says in select theaters in select cities. That's usually one of them. We have the Bryn Mawr Film Institute that does the same thing, and the theater in Ambler that does the same thing.
That's right. Colonial Theater too.
Colonial Theater. So we're very, very spoiled in that regard. And it's like making me think that I need to be more active in going to the theater to see movies.
Oh, absolutely.
I've gotten very, very complicit with just sitting on my butt on my couch.
Yeah.
So, especially these old theaters, they're awesome. I mean, we should be giving a little more attention.
Well, I guess along the lines of my other question, Stephen, from this month, June, from the horror preview and just anything you've come across, anything that you must see in theaters, like something, give us a film that you'd have to see.
Oh gosh, you're gonna put me on the spot. I mean, I think God is a Bullet would probably be my answer again. I think
Yeah.
that's a film that I think it looks phenomenal, and I think it's worth making the extra effort to go out and see it.
Yeah, I think I really want to see The Blackening, which is coming June 16th.
See, I think that's one where audience participation and being in a crowd. I think that would honestly heighten the experience.
Yeah.
Like you get into kind of a raucous comedy like that, and to be around people who are laughing and enjoying it with you. I think that adds to it.
I mean, just the tagline, "They can't all die first."
No, exactly.
I mean, it's hilarious.
It's good.
You could say it looks like something that's going to be a little more original than compared to the only thing I could compare it to is like Scary Movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was a film that came out last year that I kind of reminded me of. It was Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. I don't know if you guys saw that. And I actually did go to see that in theaters, and it was great. But I really like these like deconstruction kind of meta horror comedies. I think that's and I feel like a lot of the Scream movies kind of haven't held up as much as like some of this new stuff that's coming out. Like,
yeah, it's honestly, if I'm in the horror space, major market, it's pretty tough to compete with like A24 right now.
That's fair.
Like if you're Scream, because we just did a whole thing because we're big fans of Scream, obviously the property 1, 2, 3, and we did. I don't know, did we do a 2-parter or no? We just ranked them when 6 came out, right?
We did a one and done.
Yeah,
right?
one and done. Yeah. So we did kind of a ranking, and these newer ones, I agree, they're not holding up, but Joe actually brought up a good point in that episode in that I don't know if they're made for us anymore, or at least Joe and I.
Yeah.
Age-wise, and I hadn't considered that until you said it. I'm just like, yeah, I guess you have to take into account who is the audience now. Like, we were the audience.
Well, see,
18 to 25.
My thing was, and I've seen the first 3 Screams. But my thing was the first Scream, as good as it is and as much as I love it, I don't know how necessary it was, because I think Wes Craven already made the best Scream with New Nightmare. I think that is a phenomenal film.
Wow.
Interesting. Yeah.
That's my opinion. I feel like New Nightmare is, I don't know, there's something about it that it goes just a step beyond what Scream is. I think it's really like it's more out there, and I kind of respect its audacity.
Yeah. I mean,
so you could say that Wes Craven could have bookended his slasher offerings with that New Nightmare. Like, if Wes Craven's the master, like that could have been that should have been it, and then he doesn't even need to do something like Scream.
No, exactly. And I think there was a critic, I think like Mark Kermode, if you guys are familiar with him, interviewed Craven, and he was like, why would you do Scream? Like, kind of what I was saying, like, you already did New Nightmare. And Craven was like, yeah, but who saw New Nightmare?
Yeah.
That's fair. I mean, I would think it would be more for the technology piece of it. Like, personal cell phones were becoming way more common around then. Still not everybody had one, but utilizing those for having dual killers and little twists and turns, and I always found Freddy's Freddy, and then New Nightmare like got him out of the goofy Freddy phase.
Yeah, when I first
reborn Freddy.
When I first saw New Nightmare, the real life Freddy Krueger looked pretty intimidating. Looked pretty scary.
Yeah,
I thought.
Yeah,
all practical too.
Robert Englund.
Which actually up at the site now, the documentary on Robert Englund is out now, and Stacey Lane Wilson did a review on it. So if you think you want to say, I mean, if you're a horror fan, of course you're going to watch a documentary on Robert Englund, but if you want to know what Stacey thought of it, go to the site.
Yeah, absolutely. RedRiverHorror.com.
Boom.
But real quick, because I didn't really look too much into God as a Bullet, and now it's like we've brought it up a couple times. I am very excited for it. Just reading Stephen's blip here, God as a Bullet. Last but certainly not least for the month of June in the preview, Jamie Foxx, January Jones. I think it's Nicolaj Coster-Waldau and Andrew Dice Clay round out an all-star cast in this horror-adjacent crime actioner about an honest cop forced to go undercover in a satanic cult to save his daughter. That is just sounds like a ton of weird action. I don't know. This seems like a good one.
Yeah,
I haven't
definitely
seen a trailer for it yet.
And I'm a Jamie Foxx fan, so it's like whenever he's in something, I usually go see it.
Yeah,
no matter what. I
mean, he's Django. Come on, what more do you need to say?
Right. Wow. All right. So now I guess got through some films. I guess some questions for you, Stephen. When you're not writing for Red River Horror, you are a movie reviewer, correct?
Yes.
And I just have to ask, in as part of your MO that says B movies, is there any B movies that the horror audience should be aware of that we might not have thought of before?
Oh gosh, yeah. There's one that immediately comes to mind, and it's. I don't even know if it's a B movie, but it was more recent. I think it came out, like mid 2000s, early 2010s, and it was one of Bradley Cooper's first starring roles, one of his big breaks. And it came at a time where the studio was going under some changes. There was a new studio head that came in, and he did not like the film, and so it kind of got buried. It got relegated to streaming and VOD. But it's called The Midnight Meat Train, and it's based on a Clive Barker story. And Vinnie Jones, Bradley Cooper. There's a Ted Raimi cameo. I mean, it is just a phenomenal film, and it's cheesy in all the best ways. It's messy. It's not quite all the way there, but there's something about it that is just phenomenal. There's something undeniably great about it. I think it's incredibly underrated.
Midnight Meat Train. So I remember, Joe, I did actually see this on demand. The problem was it must have been whenever it came out on demand before the whole streaming thing took off. I don't remember much of it. So I will have to go back.
Time to revisit.
Yes, and you've been looking specifically for things that we may have missed that we need to go back and watch. This one, because I've seen it once, I don't remember much about it, so we will have to watch that one.
Put it on the list.
Midnight Meat Train. What else?
Oh, gosh. Let me think about that one. Don't know if this would count as a B movie. I mean, a recent horror movie that came out, Bone Tomahawk. Have you guys seen that?
I have not.
With Kurt Russell and Patrick Wilson. Phenomenal film. I won't give too much away. It is a Western until it isn't.
Gotcha.
There is a very bizarre, brutal plot twist that I don't want to give away, but that is a film that is it blends two genres in a way that is incredibly compelling and very interesting, and I would highly recommend that one. I think that was 2015, I think. Would highly recommend that. Kurt Russell, Patrick Wilson, phenomenal.
Bone Tomahawk.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's, I've been trying to get more into Westerns. When I was younger, I never picked up on it. I know that everybody quotes a lot of them. I know John Wayne and then Clint Eastwood or whomever the hell, but I never got into them. But I absolutely loved No Country for Old Men. So
Yes.
So if anything can bring me, would you say Bone Tomahawk is more energetic, or would you say it kind of pulls back and is a little more of a slow burn? Where would you put it on that spectrum?
I think it's very much a slow burn. But I would say if you stick with it, it's worth it in the end. It's a powder keg, and you got to stick with it. And that ending is just explosive.
That might be the next movie I watch, Joe. I'm into a slow burn. I'm trying to
Vibing on slow burns?
Yes, I really am. Not like the depressing stuff, but if it's depressing, that's fine. I was telling Joe in a previous episode, my wife and I, like, we started, we get home on a Friday and be like, let's watch a movie. We subscribe to Shudder, all that fun stuff. And I had a habit of just putting on really depressing stuff. Just like so it's like, that's not a Friday night, like and I bring it up all the time, like I want to see Jason Lives on a Friday night. I don't want to be like down in the dumps.
Yeah.
So Bone Tomahawk, though, I'm in for the slow burn, Joe.
Put it on.
Yeah,
it's funny. It's like Westerns have not hit for me. My brother's obsessed.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, my dad and brother love Westerns.
Okay.
That's just not one that's ever really stuck with me. But I'm always willing to try.
If you're looking for something a little older, I would try The New York Ripper by Lucio Fulci. It's a 1980s Italian exploitation film. Very cheesy, very over the top. It is. There's a serial killer on the loose who talks with a Donald Duck impression.
Sold.
I mean, say no more, right?
Yep. That sounds fantastic. That's
exactly. What more do you want?
New York Ripper.
Yeah, New York Ripper. That's phenomenal. That is a classic B movie, I would say.
All right. Definitely worth checking out. Now, for other movies, is that an Exorcist shirt you got?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Now, Stephen, how are you feeling about what's to come with the Exorcist brand?
Gosh. I mean, it's the Exorcist is kind of, it's an inevitability, right? I mean, it seems like every classic horror franchise is, they're going to reboot it. They're going to bring it back. I think there's something to be said for not messing with perfection, because to me, The Exorcist is, I would say, even more so than Halloween. Like, The Exorcist to me is just on an entirely different level. Yeah. And I think especially, growing up where I'm from and being around this sort of like down south, like Christian conservative, all of these people, like being around them growing up, it's like The Exorcist had a different connotation. Like it was, my grandmother and my mother were raised around this like National Enquirer, like, man sees the Exorcist and kills himself because it's too real,
Right.
And so it's hard to, because it seems like every other movie that comes out now, like, whether that's Hereditary or whatever, it's like, this is the scariest movie since The Exorcist.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's like The Exorcist is not even, at this point, it's not even a film, right? It's like a Citizen Kane. It's like a whatever. So it's hard. I think it's going to be incredibly hard to follow up on that. Now, I mean, there is The Exorcist 2.
Oh, boy.
The Exorcist has kind of been tainted a little bit already, and hopefully it's, better than that, is the least I can say.
Real quick, before we move on past 2, I got to ask, since you are a huge Exorcist fan, did you prefer the original cut of the film, or did you prefer the one that they re-released in 2000 where they added some of the stuff back?
I like the original cut. I like the theatrical cut. There's one line in the Redux, or whatever
Sure.
you want to call it,
The version you've
where
never seen.
Yeah, yes, exactly. There's one line in that where I think that the two priests are having a conversation, and it's a very heartfelt conversation, and I think it speaks to the overall message of the film. And I feel like if you just kept the theatrical cut the same, but included that little exchange, I think it would be perfect. I thought the other stuff, I mean, the spider walk, all that stuff, that was kind of corny, but
Well, I mean, it's crazy because at the time every other franchise, every other name was getting a reboot or a sequel or something to revitalize the brand, and that's what you got for The Exorcist, was the actual movie with added scenes.
Yeah.
So
well,
so what I was,
and I'll say of the films that have come out that have been reboots or I don't know, requels, I guess at this point. I thought the latest Hellraiser that they did on Hulu was really good. I really liked that one. They did a reimagining of Suspiria. A lot of people were kind of hit or miss on that one. I thought it was great. The Last King.
I
go ahead, sorry.
But with Suspiria, I thought it was good for a while. I was totally digging what they were doing, and then I think it suffered from what I call the Rob Zombie effect.
Yeah.
So did you ever see Lords of Salem?
I believe so. It's been a while.
So just a really cool movie that, like, just something completely different for him that's going along, and then all of a sudden it just gets weird. It's like there's that like little thing that brings the I don't know. It just gets very strange.
Yeah.
Like it gets psychedelic, and that's what he was going for. The Suspiria for me suffers at that when it gets to that point. I was like really surprised. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? What was that, like the death orgy thing?
Oh yeah. Well, I kind of liked that. I thought it was weird and out there, and I kind of, my thing was I respected that they weren't trying to just do shot for shot, right? They were trying to do their own thing. They didn't, they were trying to do muted colors. They were trying to do kind of more slowed music. It wasn't, I think the mistake for that would be to try and tread the original. And I think that's what a lot of films do now. And, I mean, an example of that tries to do something new and original, but still kind of treads backwards a bit. The newest Candyman film, I did not care for that one at all.
See, I'm such a fan of the '92 Candyman. It's
absolutely same.
It's one of my favorite horror films of all time. Period.
Yeah.
I just love it. So I was as excited as I was going into it, and as I thought it did a lot of cool things during it. I agree with you. It was.
I wanted to love it, but
same.
it was such a disappointment, and I don't know at the end of the day that it knew what it was trying to say.
Yeah,
and it just came up a little short.
Yeah, I mean, that's the hard part with the reboots, and especially with something like The Exorcist, where I was hoping could they just go full Gus Van Sant, what he did with Psycho, and just do everything exactly the same, just in a more modern look.
Well, the thing that makes me nervous more than anything is this is now going to be an Exorcist trilogy.
Yeah.
So they're going to do the full David Gordon, or like they did for Halloween, but they're going to do it for Exorcist. And I'm like,
and it sounds like they're going full Halloween too, with going with Reagan now.
Oh no.
Yeah,
that's one of the things I heard. Going full.
I will say, have you guys seen The Exorcist 3?
We love The Exorcist 3 over here at Red River.
Absolutely love that film.
Love it.
It's phenomenal.
That's the true
Brad
sequel.
Dourif should have won an Oscar for that performance. Okay. He's absolutely incredible.
He scared the first time I saw that. I didn't expect much, because The Exorcist in itself, like you said, it's just so good and so classic. And we watched the second one together, and it was so bad. So I had no expectation going into Exorcist 3, and I freaking love it. Brad Dourif scared the crap out of me in that film.
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic, and that's the actual sequel to The Exorcist.
Yeah.
From William Friedkin.
Which is funny, because I think the writer, of course I'm drawing a blank on his name, but
William
he
Peter
didn't want
Blatty.
to... There it is. He didn't want to call it The Exorcist 3. He had some other title in mind, but the studio was like, no, it has to be connected, which is funny because at that point, The Exorcist wasn't, after The Exorcist 2, who the hell wanted to see, Exorcist 3, right?
It seemed to be a common business decision, and that's how we got blessed with the gift that is Troll 2.
Or Halloween 3 Season of the Witch.
Somewhat. That one's actually a little different move. So the difference there is that was supposed to be Halloween 3, and then Halloween was going to go full anthology from there.
Yeah.
Which is what I always wished happened. That
Same.
Michael Myers didn't come back for years and years and years, and maybe ever. Maybe if not.
Yeah.
I wish they had not done the whole sibling reveal in Halloween 2. I think that really hurt the franchise. I think that was like, we have to have, it's of a certain era. We have to have our Empire Strikes Back moment. And I think there was something about that original film where it's just, you don't know why this guy is chasing Laurie, that I think added to like the mystique of it.
Yeah, and that's an argument that we've gotten into really deep with a friend of our show, his YouTube channel, Different Take, Joe D'Angelo, when he's come on, because he's same as you, just thinks that the sibling thing really ruined it, and what he really liked about 2018 was that it ignored the sibling aspect of it. It took that back out, so it just went direct sequel from the first one. And then that led to me saying, well, then it just doesn't make sense. There's no reason for 2018. Why is he going back after Jamie Lee Curtis? Like, that's dumb.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, it was just trying to make sense out of something that, well, if we're going to keep going, we got to try and piece it together because the mystery's gone.
Yeah. Well, and it's, at this point, Halloween has kind of become like choose your own adventure, right? I mean, there's like, there's the H2O, there's the Rob Zombie, there's like all these different timelines now, and it's such a mess,
Yeah,
I think actually there is a popular YouTuber that put that did an all-encompassing Halloween video and said, okay, here's this path, here's the Jamie path, here's the what's your favorite path down the Halloween trail?
I mean, I probably just the original. I don't just the original in a vacuum.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, that's going right back to our Jeepers Creepers conversation. You're always safe with the first one.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I will say as far as horror sequels, I think Nightmare on Elm Street is probably the most consistent.
Okay.
Yeah.
As far as like continuity?
As far as overall quality, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of gets into the Jason territory where it's like it starts off a little more serious and then gets goofy as it progresses, and then you get the new Nightmare, which goes gives it a new vibe. And then you got Freddy vs. Jason, which was quite goofy.
That raises an interesting question. What do you guys think is like the worst dip in quality overall?
For a whole franchise?
Yeah, for a whole franchise.
That's tough.
Because I think there's two answers here, and I think it's Texas Chainsaw and
does that count?
Hellraiser.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I guess Texas Chainsaw counts, but yeah. Because those are all just like cash grab sequels, and there's some fans that are huge. 2 has a cult following.
Well, 2 is its own thing, I respect what it's trying to do. It's not trying to. It reminds me a bit of like Evil Dead versus Evil Dead 2. It's like
yeah. Yeah, and then what's the one with Matthew McConaughey and Renee Zellweger? Is that it's not? They call it the next generation
or something.
Yeah. And that's something a movie that I really enjoy because it's so bad it's good.
Oh, absolutely! It's a disaster, but it's so much fun.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, if you talk about overall quality, yeah, I mean, Texas Chainsaw is a fair one, but there's such a huge gap.
Evil Dead is really consistent. I think.
I think so too. I think
that might be the actual answer right there.
But the biggest drop in quality. See, luckily for me, gentlemen, is that I only ever watched the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like that first one.
Yeah.
So I didn't see 2. I didn't see the Next Generation. I saw the Michael Bay one because I think we saw that in theaters.
Oh, the one where they changed it and they gave him like the name Thomas Hewitt, and then they did the prequel to that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, those are actually pretty decent.
I saw that.
Texas Chainsaw: The Beginning's one we both really liked.
Yeah, The Beginning. That's the one where that they bring it back like she's related or something. I don't remember.
I don't know about that. And then you had the one that was on Netflix.
Yeah,
last year.
That one. Oof. That one was rough.
That was so bad for some people and so good for others. That actually was trending on Twitter for like a full 48 hours after they released that. Like, I mean, like among all the other actual trending topics, that was such a crazy freaking divide. There were people that absolutely loved it, people that absolutely hated it, but everybody was talking about it when it first came out.
That's absurd.
I think they were trying to do the David Gordon Green thing, where it's like, oh, you know, she's still alive after all these years, and she wants revenge.
She knew where he was. He didn't move.
It's so cartoonish, though. Yeah. I mean, it's like it's honestly, it's like what people make fun of with the whole like Batman vengeance. Yeah. It's like she's just been waiting. She's this old woman who's, you know, suddenly going to become vigilante, and it's, oh my god,
Joe, you're speaking Joe's language.
That's just what had me crying, laughing.
What do you call it? The geriatric? What do you call it? The geriatric revenge plot?
Yeah, the geriatric revenge plot.
Yeah,
and it's just like, yeah. The other thing
I will say that the bus scene in that one, if you know what I'm talking about, that's
the coolest part.
I liked the bus scene too.
That's the whole reason that movie exists.
But it's just
a disaster.
It's so silly that she's, you know, waited all this time to go somewhere where it's not new. I mean, she's been there.
He hasn't.
She could go back there. They haven't gone anywhere.
It's like she's been awakened.
Let's wait until it becomes a tourist attraction. Okay.
We need the movie to happen.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. You know,
why not? I mean, you know.
Here's another one where it just drops off. Leprechaun, which is going to get a fresh one.
So another fresh one.
Yeah, another fresh Leprechaun coming our way. I mean, the first one's like, it's silly, but it's creepy.
I thought the first one was fine.
Yeah.
The first one has its moments.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, but I mean, you know, you're also talking about a franchise that you know, is like Leprechaun in space eventually.
Exactly. It just spirals into chaos, if anything.
Yeah.
It just does. I mean, that's exactly what Friday the 13th does, too. They both go to space.
I will say I actually like Jason X. I actually like it. It's completely.
Well, we have a special Red River horror treat for you then, Stephen.
Oh, gosh.
So a friend of mine years ago at this mall near us was like, is some kind of expo, and he bought a original draft of the Jason X script. He has since given this to me. And so it's in the plans, if you want to do some voice work, we're going to read the script as an episode of Red River Horror. The first draft of Jason X.
Love to be a part, yeah.
We're thinking of doing like that table read thing.
Yeah. God, I mean, you know, can you really fault a movie where a woman gets her head frozen and smashed open? I mean, that is just... chef's kiss, you know?
I don't know, the evolution where the mask evolves too and everything. Like, oh my God.
I wanted to be that Jason that Halloween. I really did. That
It's
came out.
what is the sleeping bag scene? Where
Yes.
That's one that you rewound a few times just to keep laughing at.
Oh yeah, I couldn't stop.
Oh yeah.
And it's funny, I actually went before Wizard World and conventions, like before they were like a big thing around here. They used to have one that was pretty small. So they'd have the whole Pennsylvania Convention Center in downtown Philly, and they would take up none of the room that it takes up now. Now you have like Marvel people there and Doctor Who's and stuff. But before, it just used to be like they used to sell movies and, you know, comic books and all that stuff. But I actually got a VHS hot copy of Jason X while it was still in theaters. That's the kind of stuff you could do back in 01, man.
Good times.
Oh, yeah. But yes, so we will keep you posted on that. The Jason X draft table read.
Yeah, it's good. The challenge of it is it's just been in this binder for so long, is making sure you can get like clear copies of each page, so we're able to pull it off.
Well, I have a way of scanning the high volume of paper.
Okay,
So as long as it can survive, then I can do it.
I guess it's worth a shot.
It is.
So it reminds me of a story. There was a guy who was like a Hollywood agent. I saw him interviewed, and he was talking about that he handled like Mel Gibson's stuff.
Wow.
And so this guy comes to the office, and it's an armed guard with this locked briefcase, and, you know, says, I want you to read this. This is from the studio. And so, you know, he says, okay, well, you can just leave it on, you know, my desk. And he's like, no, I can't leave it here. I have to stay outside while you read it. So he says, okay. And it's the script for Signs.
Huh.
So
how about that?
So he reads the whole thing. He gives it back to this armed guard, and he, you know, goes about his day. And the next day he's at lunch with some other, you know, producer or agent or something. And he says, you know, this script came across my desk the other day, and, you know, it was really bizarre how it was given to me and all the circumstances and what have you. Said, but I think it's phenomenal. It's a great script. He said, but they've put this fake ending in there so that we don't know what happens. He said that was the real ending.
Oh, wow.
The whole thing with the water, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only downfall of the movie, like, Signs is a great movie up to that point.
It is.
I mean, M. Night was hitting on all cylinders then. What was it, coming off of Sixth Sense and Unbreakable? Was Signs his next big one? Yeah. That was...
Yeah, I think Signs was probably the beginning of the downward trend.
Yeah. Though it's like I'm one of the rare cases where it's like I really enjoyed The Village.
The Village was pretty good.
I thought The Village was good too.
I love Split.
Split is one of my...
Devil had moments. It's kind of funny. In a bad it's a good sort of way.
Yeah, it's oddly enjoyable in its own way. Yeah.
I like The Visit too. I don't care what you both say.
Yeah,
I have to give that one another chance. I'm not giving Lady in the Water.
I need to give that one another chance. Yeah, did you guys saw Old?
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It just yeah.
It was all right.
It was a good idea, I thought. I thought the idea was great.
Yeah.
Just didn't.
Yeah, the Lady in the Water is the one where I'm still like, what the heck happened? And I'm like, what the heck? What did I just watch?
Well, maybe both of you can confirm this. I think Lady in the Water, like, The Village was the first film that did not get rave reviews for M. Night Shyamalan. So, like, the critics were mixed on The Village.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that Lady in the Water he made, like, he was kind of calling out his critics by way of this film, and it was really bad.
Well, there's that whole scene where the movie critic gets killed by some kind of monster or something. Right. It's really on the nose. Yeah, it's...
Yeah.
And it's like he can't... I hear he cannot deal with that was the first time, the critics were like, some were like, yeah.
And I mean, if you put that amount of passion and dedication into something and it doesn't pan out, I mean, I get it, but there's got to be a better way of handling
Yeah.
Than Lady in the Water.
Than Lady in the Water, yeah, exactly.
And then The Happening.
Oh gosh.
Oh,
That one's just brutal.
that's tough.
That is, yeah.
Yeah, that was a rough one for good old M. Night.
Yeah, but revisit it, guys. I think there's some scenes in there that are pretty disturbing. They're pretty.
It's been a while since I've seen that one. I think it might be time to give it another chance.
Yeah, that's another thing we've been talking about, like revisiting some stuff where it's like we said didn't like it or whatever. So one that popped into my mind, I remember we saw it in theaters and I didn't care for it then, but I'm like, let's give it another shot. And that's The Skeleton Key.
Oh yeah, we did see that in
Like,
theaters.
The Visit was making me think about that, but I had been thinking about it. The
Interesting.
Skeleton Key
With Kate Hudson.
Kate Hudson.
Wow. Yeah.
That's some old lady in the bayou.
I did not care for Midsommar whenever I saw it. And I've had a friend since tell me, like, no, you got to give it another chance. You got to, there's a director's cut now. And it's
I think it's highly overrated.
I think, yeah.
But
yeah, I could see that.
I don't know. A lot of people were just like, "Oh my god, so good!" It's the Wicker Man. Slightly changed.
Well, I feel like that's
Wicker Man
something that
vibe.
I've noticed with Esther's work, and I hope that Beau is Afraid. I haven't seen it yet, but I hope it's a little bit different because I've noticed with a lot of his films up until now, like Hereditary and Midsommar, it feels like he just watched Rosemary's Baby and now he's going to do his version of that, or like Don't Look Now and Midsommar, like what you're talking about with The Wicker Man. And he's a director who, it's weird because I think he's very influenced by Grindhouse and exploitation and horror movies, but it comes across like he's almost embarrassed of it. Like he's not someone who's wearing his influences on his sleeves. Like he's trying to be better than what he's inspired by.
Interesting.
And I think in a way that feels maybe like condescending to the source or something. I don't know. That's my interpretation, but I don't know if you guys have ever gotten that. But
I haven't, but I can see exactly what you mean.
yeah,
I never thought about it that way. I'm like, that I think that's a really good point.
Yeah.
I got told to avoid Beau is Afraid, and I'm not. I'm just being lazy about it.
No, exactly. Well, it just hit VOD like yesterday, I think. So I might check that one out today. I've heard it's, at the very least, it's more like it's more original. It's kind of like its own thing, which is respectable. I mean, God, with all these franchises and stuff like we're talking about, it's
sure.
Well, I guess anything in closing that we should know about before we chat next. We will be chatting again next.
Hitting that wall.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, actually, just really quickly, if you guys don't mind, I am an independent filmmaker in addition to all the other stuff. So I'm going to be launching my first crowdfunder here pretty soon. We're doing a horror crime anthology, actually. We're going to be shooting up in London, Ontario, Canada later this summer. And so, just follow me on social media and hopefully we're going to make some movie magic this summer.
Wow. Where on social media? Where can people stay updated? If you can give all your...
So you can follow me on Facebook, Stephen Beason, or Beason's Dogwood Studios is the name of the page. And you can follow me on Instagram at BMovieMagic.
BMovieMagic.
It's going to be a whole horror crime anthology. My part of it is about a boxer who gets in debt of some sports gambling debt, and he gets in the crosshairs of this Nazi gang. It's brutal, it's scary. We're so excited to bring it to you. Just follow for more updates. We'll have more information coming soon.
That is awesome. Again,
called Painkiller.
I love it.
Ooh. All right, at B Movie Magic on Instagram. One more time, was it Dogwood?
Beason's Dogwood Studios on Facebook, or just send me a friend request, Stephen Beason.
For sure.
Perfect.
That's awesome, man. Congratulations. Best of luck with that.
Thank you so much.
We'll be following that closely. And we can talk about that more off air.
Yeah.
About, some of our own projects and stuff. We'll share some things.
Yes.
So, yeah.
All right, Joe. I think. Well, no, Stephen. I'm glad the listeners finally got a chance to meet you.
Yes, and thank you so much for having me be a part. I'm happy to be on board.
Anytime. You're welcome on
Absolutely.
the show. Absolutely.
All right, Joe.
All right. So, Eddie, you got anything else to add? We cleared?
Nope. We just cleared episode 97, Jeremy Roenick's number for the old Orange and Black. Brother.
Yeah, that's true. So it's been episode number 97 of the Red River Horror Podcast. Remember, you can find us on Twitter, at Facebook, on Instagram, wherever you might do that. You can find the Red River Horror Podcast on any of your podcasting platforms. And remember to keep traveling those channels of fear.